We begin this morning with some breaking news. In the last hour, we learned that Spokane police detained a shooting suspect on Spokane South Hill.
Yeah, so police say that this shooting all happened earlier this morning. It started near the homeless encampment near I-90. KREM 2's Nicole Hernandez live on the South Hill right now where that suspect was detained. Nicole, there are a lot of details to this and you've been tracking it every step of the way. Can you tell us more about what happened?
Absolutely, Tim Channing. So right now we're at Southeast Boulevard and Regal. While earlier this morning things were a lot more busy, we still have about 5 or so police cars here in the area. I'll let you take a look at just what we have left of a police presence right now. Behind the semi-truck here, we've got a few on the streets, not blocking traffic by any means, but cars are having to go around those officers. Now, I did just get an update from police officers about 20 minutes ago. They say the person they detained here at this apartment complex is now detained under 2 counts of drive-by shooting. That's because early this morning, just after 3 o'clock at 3:04 this morning, police got a call in from 911 saying that there was someone driving around the homeless encampment near I-90 shooting inside of it. During that 911 call, dispatchers could hear those shots being fired during that phone call. Police showed up to the scene. They could not find the suspect in that area. After some research and tips, police were brought here to Southeast Boulevard and Regal, where they say the suspect lived. So now they were able to find the car that was involved in this drive-by, as well as detain the suspect. He again was now charged on 2 counts of, or detained on 2 counts of drive-by shooting. So we do know that this was a targeted shooting. This person was suspected of shooting specifically at one person. There's nobody that ended up being injured. This was not a random shooting. Everyone is okay in this situation. Right now, what's moving forward now is police are waiting just for a search warrant to be pulled through. Once they're able to get that search warrant, they will be able to go through the apartment. They say that should happen in the next 30 to 45 minutes. Then after that, this area will be cleared out as they continue their investigation on the back end. In Spokane, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
Nicole, tell us a little bit more about how this kind of all unfolded, because you spoke with an officer who said that this really kind of happened very quickly. You know, it happened all the way down near the homeless encampment near I-90. And then how did they get up to the South Hill?
So exactly, it happened very quickly. Officers were able to tell me that within less than an hour and a half, they had a suspect shooting at the homeless encampment, and in less than an hour and a half, then had someone detained and in custody. How they ended up here is they ended up tracing an address to where that suspect lived, and that happens to be here at Regal and Southeast Boulevard.
Nicole Hernandez reporting live on Spokane South Hill for us this morning. Nicole, thank you. We'll check back in with you in just a few minutes.
Well, the Spokane County Board of Commissioners approved a resolution for the county prosecutor's office to file a lawsuit against WSDOT. The resolution is about that homeless encampment along I-90. Now, yesterday, KREM 2 spent lots of time sorting through this resolution, and here's what it means. The prosecutor is now authorized to file a suit for, quote, the abatement of nuisance conditions and injunctive relief against the owner of real property, the Washington Department of Transportation within Spokane County. So, of course, to give you more context, the Spokane County Commissioner said this action is in support of Sheriff Ozzie Knezevich's plan to clear the encampment. Now, last month, Knezevich wrote a letter to WSDOT saying that he plans to clear the camp by mid-October. But shortly after, WSDOT put fences up around the encampment to help reduce the impacts of the camp on the surrounding neighborhood. The county commissioner now wants to make sure that a county superior court judge can oversee the impacts the camp has had on the community.
And weather-wise, expecting another warm day in the area, even though it is still a little bit cool in some areas across the inland northwest. But even though you might be seeing Deer Park at 38 degrees, well, just down the street in Ritzville, it's 60 degrees right now. So there's another huge temperature disparity this early morning across the inland northwest. You can pick out those areas that are actually quite warm, especially for October standards. 16 Grand Coulee in Ritzville, 58 in Moscow, 55 Pullman and Lewiston, and even 52 in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene right now. now with just a little bit of daylight just coming around the eastern corner with the clock tower lit up in pink. I believe that would be the breast cancer awareness ribbon that I see there on the clock tower. But a very calm morning and going to be another warm afternoon. High temperatures expected once again in the low 80s, making for the third straight day in the 80s for the Spokane area.
Well, heads up drivers, starting today, the right 2 lanes of northbound Division Street and Sprague Avenue will be closed for the next 10 days. Now, these closures will start at 9 a.m. and will last until 7 p.m. every day. Now, Division will be fully reopened after 7 p.m. every day. This is so that BNSF Railways can repair damage on a railroad overpass that was hit by a car last month.
Overnight, family and friends of a Hilliard man shot and killed by Spokane police gathered for a memorial at Riverfront Park. On September 4th, police were called to Robert Bradley's home by a person who claimed their neighbor was in their yard with an AR-15 style rifle. When police arrived, they say Bradley was holding a gun. They asked him to lower it, but says he refused, and that's when 2 officers shot him. We later learned that there had been an ongoing property dispute between Bradley and his neighbor. Bradley's family says police only gave him seconds to react. They believe the outcome of that night should have been different and the shooting was not justified.
When a life is lost too soon in such an unnecessary and avoidable way as Robert Bradley's life was, it is important to spread their memories as far as possible.
The shooting is still under investigation. The officers involved were placed on administrative leave, which is standard protocol.
It's 6:07 now. Let's take a look at your morning rush. More news in less time. 2 Spokane men have filed a lawsuit against the South Hill Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, saying that they were molested by a church elder beginning in the 70s when they were just children. This lawsuit alleges that the church concealed the abuse and that the elder was allowed to groom and sexually abuse children even after their own abuse was reported to church staff. The 2 plaintiffs say that they have suffered physical and permanent psychological injuries, and they're seeking an undetermined amount and have demanded a jury. This morning, 5 people are in jail for trying to steal gas out of cars. Deputies with the Spokane County Sheriff's Office arrested the 5 people at a car dealership just hours ago. Officers say that they found 2 men drilling into the gas tank of a car and 3 more trying to drive away. Deputies say that 10 vehicles were damaged. The Idaho 2022 special session rebate checks are starting to hit people's bank accounts. These checks will automatically go out to people who were full-time Idaho residents in 2020 and 2021 and who filed income taxes for both years. Individual filers will get a minimum of $300. Joint filers will get $600 or 10% of what you paid in taxes for the 2020 year, whichever is greater. Now, if you haven't done your taxes for 2020 or 2021, you have until December 31st of this year to be eligible for the rebate. And this morning, the Gonzaga men's basketball non-conference schedule is out. During the first 2 months of the season, the Zags will face 7 teams that advanced to the NCAA tournament last season. Lots of good games set for that one. So now for a full breakdown of the schedule, you can head to our website, KREM.com, and that's a look at your morning rush. With the midterm elections just weeks away, the Washington Secretary of State's office has now launched a statewide awareness campaign to assure elections are secure, accessible, and transparent.
Since late 2020, the state has been fighting misinformation campaigns.
By reoccurring, frequent, and baseless claims, there's no evidence to support election fraud or tampering of our election systems.
During an election roundtable yesterday, Secretary of State Steve Hobbs says since November of 2020, his office reported more than 180 incidents of election disinformation posted online. New resources are now available to combat that.
New resources will monitor and counter disinformation with facts, providing context to improve voter trust. By engaging voters, teaching them how the system works, they will be able to identify these false narratives and educate their friends on how the process really is safe, secure, and reliable.
Now, Hobbs says that all voters can vote with confidence. And some reminders for voters this morning. If you live in Idaho, you have until October 14th to register to vote. Early voting starts on October 24th there. Now, in Washington, you can register to vote at any time, even on Election Day. Mail-in ballots will be sent out starting on October 21st, and the midterm elections are on November 8th.